Shalom. This is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights, and what I'd like to talk to you about today is the issue of race and nation and clan and extended family. I've been dealing with this issue for a number of years. I've posted on it many times. Many of my posts have been considered, I guess, controversial, even though I'm truly not trying to be. I'm just trying to give what I believe the truth of the Torah to be. So, the issue of race. If we think about what the West is trying to do and what the United States is trying to do and what the liberals are trying to do and the progressives, I've stated many times that their main goal is to blur distinctions, is to create chaos. Not chaos in the colloquial sense of mayhem, although that's ultimately what it leads to, but chaos in the sense of blurring distinctions, chaos as opposed to order. As I've stated many times, if we look around this world, if we look around this universe, we see order. Yehovah has a certain order for the world. He has a certain order for the universe. And he lays out that order in a certain way. We can look at the universe and we can see his order. Okay? Now, the rabbis might say, well, he lays it out in the Torah. I don't believe that's true. I think that's idolization of the Torah. I think that's raising the text to the level of being a God itself. No. The Torah is a document which describes some of the order that he sees and some of the order that he wants for humanity. But the Torah is not the blueprint for that order, and it does not contain every element of the order, right? We can explore it through science, we can explore it through philosophy, through debate, all this kind of stuff, what the order of the world is. At any rate, one of the elements of order that Yehovah created in this world is that he took all of the peoples of the world and he separated them into nations, and he separated them into clans, and he separated them into families. Okay? And this is exactly what the leftists, the progressives, both in Israel, both in I should say also in Israel, also in the West, in the United States, in Europe, everywhere, this is the main thing that they're trying to chip away at, is the distinctions and the order that Yehovah has placed in the world. Therefore, they are workers of evil, because chaos, lack of order, is equated to evil, and the creation of order in the way that Yehovah wanted it is equated to good. Okay, so when you look at the leftists, the progressive, they're no different than any anti-Yehovah philosophy throughout the ages. Even in ancient times, we can see similar elements. But one of the things that the left does is that they try to proclaim how wrong it is that the world be separated into nations, into lands, into different races, into different bloodlines, into different cultures. They are trying to say, or they're trying to convince people that this is somehow evil. I mean, that this is somehow, it's evil that there are these distinctions, and that really we're all just one big human family, and we should all live together as one. We should all merge together into a single nation without any distinctions between us. Okay? That would be the classic definition of chaos. Chaos, as I've stated in many videos before, is a state in which distinctions are blurred. Okay? The classic example is a lukewarm glass of water where there's no or very little temperature difference between the various molecules in the water. Okay? And nobody wants a lukewarm glass of water unless you're watering the plants or something like that. But if we want to drink, we either want a nice cold glass of water with ice cubes in it, or we want a nice hot water with steam coming out of it. Okay, and that would be an example of a less uniform system, especially the one with the water with the ice cubes in, is the example I always like to give. Okay, so where am I going with all of this? Okay, the point I'm trying to make is that Yehovah took the people of the world and he separated them out into families, into clans, into extended families, into tribes, and into nations. Okay, the relationship between those groups is blood, is family. Okay, if the most important thing in the world, or one of the most important things in the world, is one's family, okay, who's my mother, who's my father, who's my brother, who's my sister, who's my children, who's my cousins, right? Everyone knows that this is important, who we are and where we come from, what our blood relations are. Blood is thicker than water, as the saying goes. If everybody knows how important that is, okay, then it's easy to see that extending this out, then we get from the nuclear family to the extended family, from the extended family to the clan, from the clan to the tribe, from the tribe to the nation. Okay, the idea of a nation originally, and as perceived in the Torah, in my opinion, is that it is an extended clan of blood-related people. The people in a nation are meant to be related by blood. In other words, to use the term that has become politically incorrect in the West, a nation is meant to be a race. Okay, a particular race with a particular culture, including their particular language, with a particular land. Okay, there's a talk show host in America that likes to say language borders culture, or borders language culture. Okay, that's Michael Savage. I agree with him, but he's missing one important point. It's not just language or borders language culture. It's border language culture race bloodline. Okay, that's what defines a nation. That is what has always defined a nation in the traditional sense of the word, and that is clearly in the Torah, with some exceptions that I'll talk about in a second, namely the Ger. That is clearly what defines the nation of Israel. Okay, so if you look at a nation like China, or if you look at a nation like Japan, or you look at a nation like Korea, they're all bound by blood. Okay, they're an extended family. Okay, that's why it is extremely difficult to emigrate if you're not of Japanese blood. It's extremely difficult to immigrate to Japan. If you're not of Korean blood, it's extremely difficult to immigrate to Korea. You can live there as a guest, as a long-term guest, as a resident, but you cannot easily become a citizen unless you have that blood relation, because all of these nations understand, correctly so, that they are trying to preserve a race. They're trying to preserve an extended family. They're trying to preserve a clan, a tribe, a bloodline, and they don't see that as wrong. In fact, they see that as a very good thing, and so do I, and in my opinion, so does the Torah. Getting back to the nation of Israel. Okay, the nation of Israel is clearly, all anyone has to do is read the Torah in a very perfunctory basis, and one can see that it's an extended family, that it's a clan, that it's a group of people related by blood. Okay, the nation of Israel is usually referred to as the children of Israel, Bnei Israel. What does that mean? It means the children of Israel. It means those who are descended, and when we're talking about descent in the Torah, it's always patrilineal. The matrilineal, the motherly line, is never, ever, ever important. One may say, well, such and such person was the son of this woman, or this person married his father's cousin or something like that, but it never ever traces lineage by the mother. It only traces lineage by the father. All anyone has to do is just pick up pretty much a random page, pick up the Tanakh and open it up pretty much to a random page, and one can see that. And there are no exceptions anywhere throughout the entire Tanakh. Okay, so the children of Israel are related by blood. We're an extended family. We're a clan. We're a tribe. We are a family of blood relations, just like your family, your mother, your father, unless you've been adopted, which is fine. Okay, but in a standard family, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your children, they're all related to you by blood. Okay, and so is Israel. The basic conception of the nation of Israel is that it is a family of blood relations. Okay, like any family of blood relations, like any nation, like any race, and Israel is a race at its core. It has its own culture. Its culture, the culture of Israel, is based on its history, but it's ultimately based on the Torah, its special relationship with Yehovah. That's its culture. The Torah is the constitution of the nation of Israel. It's the law. It represents the law and the culture of our people, of our family, of our bloodline. Okay? And it has its land. That's the land of Israel. The land of Israel was given by Yehovah, who swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and the expression is often used, he lifted his hand, his right hand, to swear to them that the land of Israel will be theirs for eternity. They may sin, they may be at odds with Yehovah because they have not followed his ways or followed the ways he laid down for the nation of Israel, but any exile from the land of Israel is only temporary, and 2,000, 3,000 years in Yehovah's eyes is the blink of an eye, as Tehillim says, right? 1,000 years is like a day. So the land for the race of Israel is the land of Israel. Okay, that was taken away from the Canaanites, from the Amorites, from the 7 nations, because they were engaged in disgusting acts of all types, idol worship and incest and necromancy and all kinds of horrible things, and murder and child sacrifice, and go read Leviticus 18 and 20, and you'll see exactly what they were engaged in, and was given to the nation of Israel permanently as their permanent homeland. The language of the nation of Israel is Hebrew, namely biblical Hebrew, not this disgusting, perverted, pidgin, modern Hebrew that we have, where the word for television is televizia, and the word for evolution is evolutia, and people enlightened Israelis like to say entire phrases in English, thinking how intellectual they are, like "you one never knows" in the middle of their sentences or something like that. And I'm talking about biblical Hebrew. That is the language of our nation. Okay, so we've got our bloodline, the descendants, the blood descendants by the fatherly line of Israel, of Jacob. Anyone who can trace his fatherly line back to Jacob is, by definition, one of the children of Israel. Doesn't matter where they are in the world, doesn't matter where they've wandered to, by definition, they are one of the children of Israel. Okay? We have our land, the land of Israel, we have our culture, the Torah, and we have our language, biblical Hebrew. Okay? And that's it. That's what a nation is. The attempt by the leftists to change the definition of a nation, which started, I don't know if it started, but in its modern conception can be traced most notably back to the French philosophers of the 18th century, the Enlightenment, which led up to the French Revolution. These people believed that there are really no distinctions between all of humanity, that everyone is the same, that a country is made up of whatever citizens happen to live there, regardless of their bloodline. So this is the kind of modern, liberal view of the world. This is the view that has infested and infected the West, and is, quite frankly, causing its downfall, because in the United States of America you have many different clans, races, bloodlines, all living together, trying to figure out a way to work it all out and live together as a single nation, and it can never and will never happen, and it was never meant to happen. I always point to the prophecy in Daniel that there will be a nation that its feet will be of clay, and it will be made up of many nations, and that clay will not be able to stick together. It will fall apart. And I don't know if this is a direct reference to the United States, but certainly the idea seems to resonate with what I think of the United States. You cannot take different families, different extended clans, different bloodlines, different races, mix them all together in a nation and make one big new family. It does not work. Okay, what you're going to have is just factions going at each other's throats for eternity, and that's exactly what we have in the United States of America. That's exactly what we have. Let's talk about a couple of very quick exceptions to this idea of race as a nation. Okay, the nation of Israel has a process by which someone who is not part of the nation can become part of the nation. Okay, someone who becomes part of the nation, who decides to, as I like to call it, break himself off from his original branch, his original bloodline branch, and graft himself onto the tree or the branch of the nation of Israel. Someone who decides to do that for himself and all his descendants is called a ger. And why am I getting emails? Sorry. Is called a ger. Okay, a ger is like an adopted son or an adopted daughter. Is different because the way a woman joins the nation of Israel is to marry in. Okay, but so we're only going to speak about males here. Okay, a ger is an adopted son. Okay, like an adopted son in any family, he's part of the family. Okay, he's a beloved son, but he's not the blood descendant of Israel. There's always the distinction. Anyone who is adopted may have parents that loved him very, very much and loved him to death, but there's always a slight difference between an adopted son and a bloodline son. Okay, and it's the same in Israel. Therefore, the ger does not have the same status, and all of the descendants of the ger on the male line do not have the same status as an Ezrach, or someone who is a bloodline Israelite, someone who can trace his paternal bloodline back to Jacob himself. Okay, so there are different laws. For instance, the ger can be sold nivela, an animal that has died on its own. The rabbis would say that this is referring to someone who is what they call a ger toshav, someone who just comes and lives among Israel, but is not converted, quote unquote. I don't think that's the case. I don't think the Torah makes any distinction between different types of ger. A ger is a ger. So that would be one example. Okay, you can lend to the ger with an interest rate, whereas you cannot lend to the bloodline Israelite with an interest rate. Okay, and other differences. So the ger is a son of the nation of Israel, but an adopted son. And to be quite frank, the ger is kind of what we would call, I don't like to use the word second-class citizen because it's not like that. He's more on the outer circle, right? If we move in towards the inner circle, where the inner circle might be, at least in the religious structure, the Kohanim, and then the Levites, and then Israel, and then outside of that is the Gerim, okay? And the ger also does not have a parcel in the land of Israel. He does not have an eternal parcel in the land of Israel, although prophecies speak about in the end of days that the Gerim who have joined to Israel will also have a parcel in the land. But the Torah, in its conception, makes the ger to be a part of the nation of Israel, but kind of the outer ring. I'll put it that way. I don't want to use the word second-class citizen because I don't think that describes it at all. The outer ring, adopted children, okay? But the main core, the cores, or as you move closer towards the core, the next inner core is the bloodline descendants of Jacob. So that is kind of my message for now. I'll pick it up again. I'm almost here where I need to be going, so I'm going to have to say goodbye at this point. But let's sum up. The summary is that the nation of Israel is a race. It is an extended bloodline. It is a branch of the tree of humanity, which is united by the seed. And as a good friend of mine always points out, seed literally means, when it speaks about the seed of Israel, Zera Yisrael, which is used many times, or your seed. Seed is equivalent to sperm in biblical Hebrew, meaning those that are actually produced by the sperm, meaning the bloodline descendants of Israel. Okay, so the core of the nation of Israel is the extended bloodline, family, clan related by paternal descent of all of the paternal or the patrilineal descendants of Jacob. The West is on an effort to, or is dead set on blurring all these distinctions, on changing the basic definition of a nation, which is still understood in many countries around the world outside of the West, and changing it to just a conglomeration of all of its citizens. Anyone who happens to live there, anyone who happens to attain citizenship, is now a full-fledged member of the nation. This is a new conception, at least in our times, although it's been tried before and it's always fallen apart. Rome, Greece, Persia, these empires all fell apart. This is the conception that the West and the United States is trying to push, with the ultimate goal, I believe, of fighting against Yehovah and destroying the distinction of the nation of Israel. Because if you've blurred all the boundaries between all the peoples, then the nation of Israel no longer exists de facto. Okay? So this Western move towards chaos is a move towards evil. It's a move towards going against the ways and the structure that Yehovah has placed in the world. So that's the second thing to understand, okay? And the third thing to understand is that the nation of Israel has its bloodline, it has its culture, the Torah, it has its land, the land of Israel, it has its language, biblical Israel, biblical Hebrew, okay? And with that, I'll end the talk, and I will close the video and pick it up another time. This has been Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights, and talk to you again soon.